Hello everyone. Today we're diving into a topic that makes people spend years on expedition, live in tents, eat canned stew, and genuinely celebrate a rock with a scratch on it. We're talking about ancient finds in Kazakhstan, yeah, and why a single tulip carved on a cliff or one a copper cauldron can flip our idea of the past on its head.
If you think archaeology is just digging up old bones, then you're basically a third grade textbook. In reality, it's a massive puzzle. Cultures, rituals, myth, context between people, trade routes, and sometimes all of that pops up as one object, pulled out of the ground.
Today, we got two main stories. A petroglyph of a Shank's tulip in the Gelta Mountains that's not a typical subject for rock art at all. An ancient copper cauldron of the Semiracha type from a mount with a sacrificial horse found in central Kazakhstan. Basically, these are 2 points in time and space that connect the steppe with ancient civilization and with us today.
Let's start with the basics. When archaeologists say a find, they don't mean we found something old, cool. A find is a piece of information, like a file without label, that still needs decoding.
Yeah, an object can be beautiful, unusual, shiny, whatever. But for archaeologists, something else matters more. Where it was formed, at what depths, what was near it, how it was lying, what was above it and below it. That's called context. Lose the context and the find turn into the flea market souvenir.
That's why archaeologists draw everything, photograph it, measure it, write it down, like they're preparing a report not just for the boss, but for people 100 years from now. Because 100 years from now, new analysis methods will exist, and researchers will be able to return to an old find and squeeze even more information out of it.
And here's the fun part. Different finds give different kinds of information. Pots and bones, what people ate, how they cooked. Jewelry and weapons, status. Style, aesthetics, technology. Petroglyphs, myth, religion, worldview. Cauldrons, sacrificial pits, special complexes, rituals and cult practice.
Our first story takes us to the Zhildao Mountains, in the Aktogay district of the Karavan region. It's the place where the steppe gradually turns into mountains landscape, rocky ridges, and big stone massives. And the nearest village is dozens of kilometers away.
In short, not exactly a weekend getaway. No shopping, no malls. You can't even grab a coffee to go. But it does have the thing that makes people climb these rocks thousands of years later: rock art.
Archaeologists, when there is part of a project studying the ancient landscapes of Bitpagdala, they were looking for everything: petroglyphs, burial grounds, campsites, and in the Zhelta area they found several large galleries where the rocks are literally covered with images, animals like ibex, horses, camels, people, hunting scenes, and a whole set of strange symbolic figures.
A petroglyph isn't just a drawing, it's a message. A Bronze Age person couldn't post a story online, so they took a stone and hammered a scene into a cliff. Hard work, slow process, but the recording lasts for thousands of years.
One of the Zheltao slabs, archaeologists found the compositions like three concentric circles with twin rays coming off them, a straight cross under the circles, a figure made of complex lines nearby, and a sign that looks like an S with curled ends.
But the main celebrity in the story isn't even from that composition.
Yeah, Daniel, you're right. A little farther away, one two massive slabs separate from the main cluster of images. They found a plant, not a lazy sticker and dot, but a detailed depiction. For example, a clean stem, two long leaves, a bud, and a round bulb at the bottom.
When botanists look at it, they say that Shank's tulip. It's a wild tulip species, consider it one of the ancestors of cultivated tulip varieties. The flowers that eventually led to all those garden tulips, red, yellow, multicolored, The twist is that for the Bronze Age, this motif is unique. Animals, sure. People, sure. Chariots, sure. But a plant, a specific species, carved with this level of attention to detail, that's rare.
The obvious question, why would a Bronze Age person carry a flower in the stone? It could be a symbol of specific deity, a sign of spring festival, or a marker of territory or scared place. And there are parts of more complex myths we can no longer reconstruct.
What's interesting is that flower motifs, very similar to a tulip, appear on objects from the Bactria Margiana archaeological complex that developed agricultural cultures of ancient Central Asia. There's a flower sometimes tied to goddesses, fertility cults, sacred drinks. So one image on a Jiltao cliff almost whispers, "Guys, the steppe and the agricultural oasis were in contact, not only through goods, but through ideas, myths, and symbols."
If we jump forward many centuries, in traditional Kazakh beliefs, the period from mid-February to mid-March is a time of struggle between winter and spring. The cold is still there, but the first flowers appear.
That's when you start seeing in the steppe snowdrops, nausgul, wild tulips, and kızıldak. And their appearance is a sign Nowruz is coming, the new year in the spring cycle.
In Jetsu today, they even revive a tulip festival. People go out to the steppe, watch the bloom, hold concerts, parades, and if you look at it through archaeological glasses, you get a line like this: Bronze Age, Petroglyph of a tulip, a forgotten ancient ritual, modern spring celebrations where the tulip is back at the center.
It's kind of wild that you can stand in the spring steppe, look at living tulips, and realize that 3,500 years ago, someone looked at basically the same scene and thought, this matters, I need to carve it in stone.
If the tulip on the cliff is more about symbols, spring on goddesses, our next story is about warriors, horses, and rituals.
We're moving forward in the time from the Bronze Age into the world of early nomads. Saka, Scythians, late Saka tribes. Mounted warriors, complex mounts, rich burials, the cult of the horse, and animal style in art.
The location is the Tulip Historical and Archaeological Park in the Shed district in the Kazakhstan region. Researchers excavated several mounds there. One of them turned out to be not a typical grave, but a late Saka period sanctuary. The site was named Kızıljartas.
Inside, there wasn't a human burial, like people expect. There was a pit with a sacrificial horse, and next to it, a three-ledged copper cauldron, packed with the metal objects.
So this isn't a stash for a rainy day, not a random trash heap. It's a very intentional ritual action. A horse is a sacrifice, a cauldron is a cult object, metal pieces inside it's a set linked to horses and status.
The cauldron belongs to the so-called Semiracia type, a distinctive from a hemispherical body, three curved legs, often shaped like animal legs or paws, and two horizontal handles, sometimes also vertical loops, and at the end raised cord bands or ridges around the body.
So, basically, a bronze barbecue from ancient times, except for rituals, and without kebabs.
This particular cauldron is impressive in size, about half a meter in diameter, around 30 something centimeters tall, with a volume of roughly 20 liters. It was cast almost entirely from very high quality copper, not rough amateur work, but the product of serious craftsmen with a strong metallurgical tradition. It's believed that cauldrons were cast using a lost wax model. First they made the future cauldron out of wax, then coated it with clay, dry it, mellowed out the wax, and poured molten metal into the cavity.
The legs could be part of the main casting of a dish separately in the mold. Handles and loops were often soldered on later, which is why you sometimes see traces of finishing work.
So, This isn't a random blob of metal that fused together. It's real engineering for its time, especially considering they had no 3D printers and no CAD drawings.
Another curious detail is the layer of black soot and residue of the cauldron outer surface. Analysis showed it formed because the cauldron had been wrapped for some time in steep grass or hay. Maybe it was intentionally packed like that before being buried. This could have been practical protection during its transport, or sacred, a link with earth, grasses, horse fodder, and the horse offered as a sacrifice.
When archaeologists opened the cauldron and began sorting what was inside, they didn't find porridge, ash, or water. They found a set of metal objects, mostly connected to horse tack.
Inside they found fragments of bits, cheek pieces, side elements of the bridle that fix the bit in the horse mouth, rings, plates, pins, bronze overlays, and plaques used to decorate straps, and a whole set of shaped pieces, stylized as animal heads.
Some iron parts had turned completely into rust clumps, but the overall character of the set is clear. It's definitely horse gear, and very high status at that.
The most visually striking items are three-dimensional figures shaped like the heads of fantastical beasts, which researchers call leopard griffins. They have open jaws with fangs, emphasized cheekbones, ears, sometimes little horns, a relief muscle, a sort of apron underneath with wavy lines.
Basically, premium horse tuning. Some people have basic tech, others have leopard griffins, the ancient VIP package.
This is the classic animal style. The world of early nomads is full of predators, griffins, deer, big cats, birds. It's not just decoration, but symbolism of power and protection and status.
Sounds like someone was going on their last journey, and their horse got dismantled for flags, carefully packed into a cauldron, and that was that. Status displayed, sacrifice made.
If you look at both stories together, in the end, the Tulip Petroglyph and the Cauldron with horse tack show the sides of unreality. The tulip is a symbol of spring, beauty, renewal, possibly and female deity, connection with earth and plants. What about the Cauldron? Cauldron, a symbol of community, feasting, sacrifice, connection with the divine through the fire, meat, and smoke.
And the funniest part is that modern people recognize both things too. In spring, we enjoy flowers and take photos among tulips. In summer and autumn, we gather around shared tables, cook meat, celebrate.
The tulip showed us how ancient people saw nature, how they single out one plant and elevate it to a symbol, how one rock carving can lead to a discussion of goddesses, spring rites, and cultural connections. The cauldron showed us how important the horse was, how things expressed status, faith, and memory, how ritual could end with the most valuable objects not being kept but sent into the earth.
And all of this isn't some mythical somewhere out there, but specific points on the map of Kazakhstan, the Zheltao Mountains, the Kızılırta Sanctuary.
Thank you for the watching. Goodbye.